Patricia Taylor pulled into a small gas station just outside Los Angeles. The evening sun cast a golden glow over the quiet parking lot. She enjoyed driving alone, feeling the wind in her hair and the freedom of the open road. At 74 years old, she was still full of energy and moved with grace. Dressed in a simple but stylish outfit, Patricia stepped out of her car and grabbed the gas pump. She had done this 100 times before, never expecting anything unusual to happen. As the gas flowed into her tank, she hummed softly to herself. The station wasn't too busy. A young man in a hoodie stood by the entrance, scrolling through his phone. A mother with 2 kids was struggling to fit grocery bags into the back of her car. Everything seemed normal, until she heard the sound of roaring engines. A group of bikers pulled in, their motorcycles loud and aggressive. The ground seemed to shake as they parked near Patricia's car. There were 5 of them, all wearing leather jackets and heavy boots. They laughed loudly, their voices cutting through the peaceful evening. Patricia glanced at them, but didn't react. She wasn't afraid of bikers. She had met all kinds of people in her life. Instead, she finished filling up her car and placed the pump back in its holder. As she reached for her wallet to pay, she heard footsteps approaching. "Hey there, lady," a deep voice said. She turned to see one of the bikers standing close. He was tall and bulky, with a thick beard and tattoos covering his arms. His jacket had a skull emblem on the back, and his boots were dusty from the road. "Need some help pumping that gas?" he asked with a smirk. His friends chuckled behind him. Patricia remained calm. She had faced many situations in life, and she knew better than to show fear. "No, thank you," she said politely. "I can handle it." The biker didn't move. "Come on now. A fancy lady like you shouldn't be out here alone. What if something happens?" His voice was playful, but there was an edge to it. The other bikers moved closer, watching with amusement. Patricia sighed. She had dealt with people like this before, men who thought they were in control of every situation. But she wasn't just any woman. "I appreciate your concern," she said, her voice steady, "but I think I'll be just fine." The biker raised an eyebrow. "Feisty, huh? I like that." His friends laughed, enjoying the show. Patricia knew they weren't truly dangerous, just looking for trouble, but she also knew that some lessons had to be taught the hard way. Little did they know, they had just messed with the wrong woman. Patricia stood her ground, calm and composed. The biker in front of her grinned, thinking he had the upper hand. His friends leaned against their motorcycles, waiting to see what would happen next. "You're a little too dressed up for this place," the biker said, looking her up and down. "What brings you here all alone?" Patricia smiled politely. "Just getting some gas." The biker chuckled and glanced back at his friends. "Hear that, boys? Just getting some gas. Maybe she needs company." His friends laughed, their deep voices filling the quiet gas station. The young man in the hoodie by the entrance looked up but quickly returned to his phone. The mother loading her groceries hurried to get her kids inside the car. Patricia noticed these little details. She could tell the bikers enjoyed making people nervous, but she wasn't afraid. The biker stepped closer. "So, where's your husband? A lady like you shouldn't be out here alone." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "I can take care of myself." The biker smirked. "I like a strong woman, but you know, out here, it's not always safe." One of the other bikers, a tall man with a bandana, chimed in. "We could give you a ride. Ever been on a real bike, lady?" More laughter followed. Patricia remained calm. She had met men like this before, men who thought they were in charge of every situation, but they had no idea who she was. She glanced at the leader, her eyes sharp but kind. "You remind me of someone," she said. The biker tilted his head. "Oh yeah, who?" She smiled. "A boy I once knew. He liked to act tough too." His friends laughed again, but the leader frowned. "I ain't no boy," he said. Patricia nodded. "You're right, but real strength isn't about acting tough. It's about respect." The biker seemed surprised by her words. He opened his mouth to reply, but one of his friends nudged him. "Come on, man. Let's go." But the leader wasn't ready to walk away. "You talk like you're someone important," he said. "What's your name, lady?" Patricia took a deep breath. She had hoped to avoid this part, but it looked like they needed a lesson. "My name is Patricia Taylor," she said simply. The leader shrugged. So? She gave a small smile. I'm Keanu Reeves' mother. Silence. The laughter stopped. The bikers stared at her, their eyes widening. One of them blinked, clearly recognizing the name. Wait. What? One of them mumbled. Another biker pulled out his phone and quickly searched something. His jaw dropped. He turned the screen toward the others. Dude, he whispered. She's telling the truth. The leader looked at her again, really looked at her this time. The same grace, the same calm confidence. It all made sense now. They had just messed with John Wick's mom. And suddenly, the situation felt very different. The gas station fell silent. The bikers, who had been laughing and acting tough just moments ago, now stood frozen. Their leader, the big man with the thick beard, looked at Patricia again, his confidence fading. You're really Keanu Reeves' mom?" he asked, his voice quieter now. Patricia gave a small smile. "Yes, I am." One of the younger bikers, who had been leaning against his motorcycle, quickly pulled out his phone. He typed something in, and within seconds, his eyes went wide. "Oh man, it's true," he whispered. "Her name is Patricia Taylor. She's really his mom." The others rushed to look at the phone screen. They saw pictures of Patricia with her famous son at movie premieres, smiling proudly. The leader swallowed hard. His tough guy act had disappeared. "Oh, wow, that's..." He scratched his head, suddenly unsure of what to say. Another biker, a bald man with sunglasses, spoke up. "Keanu Reeves is like the nicest guy ever." His voice was filled with respect. "I've never heard a bad word about him." Patricia nodded. "That's because he treats everyone with kindness and respect." She let her words sink in before adding, "Something I hope you boys will remember from now on." The bikers exchanged guilty glances. The leader, who had been so full of himself just minutes ago, now looked embarrassed. We didn't mean any disrespect," he mumbled. Patricia crossed her arms. "Didn't you?" The leader sighed. "Okay, yeah, we were messing around, but we didn't think it was a big deal." Patricia tilted her head. "Would you want someone to treat your mother that way?" That question hit hard. The bikers looked at each other again, shifting uncomfortably. The youngest of the group, a lanky guy with messy hair, finally spoke. "My mom would kill me if she knew I acted like this," he admitted. The others chuckled nervously. The tension in the air was fading, but now they felt a different kind of pressure, the kind that comes when you realize you've done something wrong. The leader took a deep breath. "Look, Mom, we're sorry. We were just joking around, but we didn't mean any harm." Patricia gave him a long, thoughtful look. Then she smiled. Apology accepted. The bikers exhaled, relieved. But the leader wasn't done yet. Can I ask you something?" Patricia raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead." He hesitated, then grinned sheepishly. "Could we maybe get a selfie with you?" The other bikers lit up at the idea. "Yeah, that'd be awesome." Patricia chuckled. "Let me get this straight. A few minutes ago, you were trying to intimidate me, and now you want a picture." The leader scratched his beard. "Well, yeah, I mean, you're John Wick's mom." The others nodded enthusiastically. "Come on, ma'am. It'd be a great story." Patricia laughed softly. All right, one picture." The bikers cheered, quickly gathering around. The youngest biker held up his phone and snapped a photo, all of them grinning. As Patricia got back into her car, the leader called out, "Hey, Miss Taylor." She looked at him. "Tell Keanu we said hi," he said with a sheepish grin. Patricia smiled. "I'll think about it." With that, she started her engine and drove off, leaving behind a group of bikers who had just learned a lesson they wouldn't forget. As Patricia drove away, she glanced in her rearview mirror. The bikers were still standing there, staring after her car. Their tough guy act had completely faded. Now they looked like a bunch of starstruck kids who had just met their hero's mom. She chuckled to herself. Life had a funny way of humbling people. Back at the gas station, the bikers were still trying to process what had just happened. "Dude," the youngest biker said, shaking his head, "we almost disrespected John Wick's mom." The others nodded in agreement. The leader, who had been so confident before, rubbed his face with both hands. Man, we messed up. The bald biker with sunglasses let out a long whistle. You think Keanu's gonna hear about this? The leader's eyes widened. Oh no, what if she tells him? He looked down at his hands as if expecting a sudden text from Keanu Reeves himself, warning him to be on his best behavior. One of the bikers, the one who had taken the selfie, quickly unlocked his phone and checked social media. Okay, she didn't post anything yet, he muttered. Maybe we're safe. The youngest biker, still looking dazed, mumbled, but what if Keanu knows everything? What if he's got some kind of John Wick sense, and he just feels when people mess with his mom? The group went silent for a second, then the leader shook his head. Come on, man, that's ridiculous. But deep down, none of them were entirely sure. A biker with long hair and a leather vest let out a nervous laugh. You know what? We should do something good, just in case. The leader looked at him. Like what? The guy shrugged. I don't know. Help someone. Be extra nice to people. Balance out the bad karma. The bald biker nodded seriously. Yeah, I'm gonna start holding doors open for old ladies. Maybe rescue a kitten or something. The youngest biker grinned. Yeah, I'm gonna leave big tips at diners, just in case Keanu is watching. The leader sighed, but he couldn't hide his smile. All right. Maybe we have been acting like jerks. He looked around at his crew. From now on, we show respect. No more messing with random people. The others nodded in agreement. They might have started the night trying to act tough, but meeting Patricia had changed something in them. Man, the youngest biker muttered. I still can't believe it. The leader shook his head with a smirk. Well, one thing's for sure. The group turned to him, waiting. We got the best story ever. The others laughed and nodded. No one would believe them at first, but they had the selfie to prove it. And from that night on, the once rowdy bikers found themselves making better choices, because, deep down, none of them wanted to risk upsetting Keanu Reeves. The bikers sat on their motorcycles, still stunned by what had just happened. They had started the evening acting like tough guys, but now they felt more like little kids who had been caught misbehaving. The leader, still holding his phone, looked down at the selfie they had taken with Patricia Taylor. He shook his head. Man, I still can't believe we were messing with Keanu Reeves' mom. The youngest biker, still looking amazed, let out a nervous laugh. What if she really tells him? What if Keanu calls us out or something? The bald biker with sunglasses smirked. What's he gonna do, hunt us down like in John Wick? The others chuckled, but the leader wasn't laughing. He sighed and leaned against his bike. You know, all jokes aside, she had a point. The group quieted down. The leader rubbed his chin, thinking, she said respect isn't just for people you recognize. And she's right. If she had been some random woman, we wouldn't have thought twice about messing with her. The youngest biker nodded slowly. Yeah, we were kinda being jerks. The long-haired biker scratched his head. I mean, we didn't hurt her or anything. The leader gave him a look. Doesn't matter, we were trying to act tough. We made her uncomfortable. We wouldn't want someone treating our moms like that, would we? The group shook their heads. The bald biker sighed. Man, Keanu Reeves really is everywhere, huh? Even when he's not here, his mom is out here teaching us life lessons. The others chuckled, but there was truth in his words. The leader straightened up. All right, boys, new rule. From now on, we don't mess with people. No scaring old ladies for fun. No trying to act tough just because we can. We show respect to everyone. The others nodded. It wasn't often that they had serious conversations, but tonight had been an eye-opener. The youngest biker grinned. So, does this mean we're, officially Keanu approved now? The bald biker smirked. Only if we stick to the new rule. The leader smiled. Then let's make sure we do. They revved up their bikes, feeling different from how they had felt when they first arrived. They had come in acting like bullies, but they were leaving with a new perspective. As they rode off into the night, one thing was certain. They had just learned a lesson they wouldn't forget. A few days had passed since the bikers' encounter with Patricia Taylor, and something strange had started happening. They weren't the same rowdy group that used to intimidate people for fun. Instead of scaring folks at gas stations, they now held doors open, left big tips at diners, and even helped an old man push his broken-down car to the side of the road. At first, it felt weird. They were used to being seen as the tough guys, the ones people avoided. But now something else was happening. People were smiling at them instead of looking nervous. One evening, the group pulled into their usual roadside diner. The waitress, a woman in her 50s named Carol, had always been polite but cautious around them. She knew their type: loud, rough, and sometimes trouble. But tonight, when they walked in, she raised an eyebrow. "You boys been acting different lately," she said as she poured coffee. The leader smirked. "That so?" Carol nodded. "Yeah, last week, y'all scared off a guy who was hassling a waitress at Benny's place. And just yesterday, I heard you helped Miss Parker carry her groceries to her car." The youngest biker grinned. "That's true." Carol set down the coffee pot and crossed her arms. "All right, spill it. What changed?" The bikers glanced at each other, then at their leader. He sighed, took a sip of coffee, and finally spoke. "Well, we met someone." Carol raised an eyebrow. "Uh-huh, and?" The leader leaned forward. "You ever heard of Keanu Reeves?" Carol scoffed. "Of course, nicest guy in Hollywood." The bald biker chuckled. "Yeah, well, we met his mom." Carol blinked. "Come again." The youngest biker grinned. "Keanu Reeves' mom. We ran into her at a gas station." The bikers took turns telling the story, how they had tried to mess with her, how she had stood her ground, and how she had completely changed their perspective with just a few words. By the time they finished, Carol was staring at them, shaking her head in disbelief. Then she burst out laughing. "Oh, boys," she said, wiping a tear from her eye. "You got humbled by Keanu Reeves' mother." The leader smirked. Yeah, we did." Carol shook her head, still grinning. "And it actually changed you." The bald biker nodded. "Let's just say we don't want to disappoint John Wick's mom." Carol chuckled. "Well, I never thought I'd see the day, but I like this new version of you boys. Keep it up." As she walked away, the leader leaned back in his chair. "You know," he said, "I don't mind this whole respect thing. Kinda nice, actually." The others nodded in agreement. The youngest biker grinned. "Do you think Keanu would be proud of us?" The bald biker shrugged. "Who knows? But I like to think his mom is." And with that, they finished their coffee, knowing they had started a new chapter, not just for their reputation, but for themselves. A week had passed since the bikers' unexpected lesson in respect. They had kept their promise to change, and people were starting to notice. No more loud threats, no more scaring strangers just for fun. Instead, they helped people out, treated waiters and cashiers with kindness, and even gave up their parking spots for others. It felt good. One evening, the group was gathered at their usual diner when the youngest biker, scrolling through his phone, suddenly gasped. His eyes went wide. Guys, you're not gonna believe this," he said, his voice filled with excitement. The leader sighed. "What now?" The youngest biker turned his phone around. "Look at this." The bikers leaned in, squinting at the screen. It was a post on social media. A picture. Of them. It was the selfie they had taken with Patricia Taylor at the gas station. But that wasn't the crazy part. The crazy part was who had posted it. Keanu Reeves. The post read, "My mom has always had a way of teaching people important lessons. Glad to see these guys took it to heart. Respect goes a long way. Keep it up, fellas." For a moment, no one spoke. Then chaos erupted. "Watch it," the bald biker yelled. "No way, no freaking way," the long-haired biker shouted. The leader's mouth hung open. "Keanu Reeves knows about us." The youngest biker grinned like a kid on Christmas morning. Not only does he know, he approves. They stared at the post, reading it over and over again, making sure it was real. The comments were blowing up. Thousands of likes. Hundreds of people praising them. John Wick's mom turned a biker gang into gentlemen. I love this. Patricia Taylor for president. These guys learned a life lesson from the ultimate teacher. The bikers couldn't believe it. The leader shook his head, still processing. So, let me get this straight. A week ago, we were just some rough guys messing with the wrong lady, and now Keanu Reeves himself is out here telling us to keep it up. The youngest biker nodded. Yep. The bald biker put his hands on his head. Dude, does this mean we're officially Keanu approved? The long-haired biker grinned. I think it does. For a while, they just sat there, soaking it all in. Finally, the leader chuckled. Well, if Keanu Reeves says we should keep it up, I guess we better not disappoint him. The others nodded. From that moment on, they knew this wasn't just some temporary change. They had been given a second chance, and they weren't going to waste it. Because when John Wick's mom gives you advice, you listen. The bikers could hardly believe it. Keanu Reeves himself had acknowledged them. The once rowdy group of tough guys had gone from bullies to a viral sensation. Everywhere they went, people treated them differently. At the diner, Carol grinned as she poured them coffee. So, I guess you boys are famous now. The leader smirked. Guess so. The bald biker chuckled. Not exactly what we expected when we pulled into that gas station. The youngest biker scrolled through his phone, still amazed. People are calling us the Keanu crew. He laughed. I kinda like it. The long-haired biker grinned. I mean, if we're gonna be known for something, being Keanu approved isn't a bad thing. The leader nodded. Yeah, but we gotta live up to it. The others looked at him. What do you mean? The youngest biker asked. The leader leaned forward. I mean, we can't just let this be a one-time thing. If people see us and expect us to be different now, we gotta be different. The bald biker nodded. You're saying, we actually commit to this? The leader shrugged. Why not? Look how much better things have been. No one's scared of us anymore. People actually like us. The youngest biker smiled. Feels kinda nice, huh? The leader smirked. Yeah, it does. The group sat in silence for a moment, thinking about how much had changed. Then Carol walked over, handing them their bill. But there was something different. There was a note written on the back. It read, Respect is earned, not taken. Keep making the world better. Patricia Taylor. The bikers stared at the note, then at each other. She knows, the youngest biker whispered. The bald biker let out a low whistle. Man, John Wick's mom really doesn't miss a thing. The leader smiled, folding the note and tucking it into his jacket. Then I guess we better not let her down. From that day on, the Keanu crew stuck to their new ways. They still rode their bikes, still had their leather jackets, and still had their edge. But now, they used their strength to protect, not intimidate. They helped strangers, stood up for the weak, and treated everyone with respect. And all because one woman, one very important woman, taught them a lesson they would never forget. Because when John Wick's mom tells you to be better, you listen.